Doombots, you know we're going OG when we're talking about a character who first appeared in his own name comic #1. It's time to talk about Steve Rogers' Captain America. Now, this is a conversation about Steve Rogers, who is the first and most recognizable Captain America. This is not a conversation about Steve Rogers' 76 alternate timeline and personalities, including characters like Nomad. This is not a conversation of everyone who's ever put the Captain America mantle on, which is like 14 people. This is about Earth 616 Steve Rogers, canon, blah. So, with that in mind, Captain America. So, Captain America, the movie, did better describing him than any of the other movies describing any of the other characters completely. And that's not to say it was flawless, and not to say the others didn't do an admirable job, but the Captain America movie really hit the nail on the head. He was a dweeb. He was a dweeb, and he was a jingoist American icon who believed everything in America was great, back in a time when all of Americans also believed everything in America was great because McCarthyism existed. So, he was a nerd who, through the combined efforts of super scientists and morally upstanding individuals, became the symbol of freedom, became the closest approximation to Superman as they could legally make him without making him an alien from another planet. He is a symbol, and more importantly, throughout history, even though some of the older Captain America comics, as I had mentioned before, his first appearance, Captain America Comics #1 in 1940, punching Hitler in the face, and you better believe the link to that's in the description below. Like, he was, for lack of a better word, he was a cartoon character, right? He was there to sell savings bonds, which is kind of funny because the movie made him actually sell savings bonds, which is what the Captain America comics were designed to do in the first place, war bonds. So really fun there. But I don't want to talk about the version of Captain America that we've all been hit on for like years. I want to talk about like what happened when they brought Cap back. So this is a little bit more personal part of the story. Is from my love of Captain America as a character, because generally I don't like Boy Scout characters unless they are actually Boy Scout characters. I don't like characters that act like they're good. I like characters who are good. And Captain America, Steve Rogers, since his return, I believe in the 70s and then on and off on occasion as they needed him, stopped being about some generic symbol of what we tell people, like truth, justice, the American way, and started acting like that symbol. And you got to see a lot of that growth through some of the biggest titles in Marvel Comics over the last 30 or 40 years. Through Captain America, and more importantly through the defrosting and eventual reacclimation, you got Avengers Disassembled, a version of the game as the a version of the comics as the Avengers Lost. You got the Civil War Captain America, who knew what was happening wasn't American. Now, maybe that was because he was a little bit out of time, and maybe that was because he didn't understand changes, and maybe it's just because he was the only one that could be trusted to do what was right. But he had a lot of moments in comics from the 90s to the early 2010s that kind of set the tone for comic books for a very long time, which is kind of silly because most people think of Captain America as like some generic Boy Scout. I'm going to put a couple of other links to comics below that I think you guys might enjoy if you're interested in seeing some of the cool ones. But you really saw it with the Hydra Empire arc where, spoilers to the Hydra Empire arc, Red Skull made a wish on a magic box that turned Steve evil. And how much the fans were like, nope, Cap would not be part of Hydra. It's not going to happen. It was a big deal because Cap kind of stands for something. Even if it's not what America is, it's like what America could be. And especially with the movies, as you see him as a character grow and evolve, and you know the actor who plays him, Chris Evans, you kind of get that feeling too. Like you just think Cap's doing the right thing. So generally speaking, Cap is one of my more enjoyed, I won't say favorite, it's unfair, but more enjoyed heroes. I don't particularly care for Captain America comics on their own. The Serpent Society isn't a real thing. All of his bad guys are stupid, and some of them slightly racist depending on how far back you go. But as a character, it was always great to get Cap's opinion on things. He was always the best part of the ensemble. He was always the best moral center of the Avengers whenever he was present. So he's got a place in my heart as a comic book nerd, as like, if Cap said it, we're cool with it. And also why I was Team Cap in the original version of the Civil War, or the only one that mattered, because Cap said it, it's got to be true. Captain's orders, you know? So that's pretty much everything I could talk to you about for Captain America as, you know, the comic book character. Again, feel free to comment below and let me know what your favorite Captain America arcs are. I was a huge fan of, oh god, I forgot the title of it, but after the serum actually ran out of his body, and the original story of how Sam took over as Captain America because Captain America lost the super soldier serum and was training him. He was burning it out or something. It was super weird, but that was a really good story to watch him mentor other people. And then that led into a whole bunch of other stuff. I could talk about Cap all day. If you want me to, show up in my stream and say, Tony, talk about Cap, and we'll have a blast. So let's talk about him in Marvel Strike Force, right? So Hero, Global, Bio, Protector, Shield, Military, Wave 1 Avenger, Kitchen Sink, Buy One, Get One Free, McDonald's Happy Meal toy. He's got every tag in the world. And also, I think you start with him. I don't remember exactly when it started, but I'm fairly confident that right now anyone who downloads the game is going to get a free Captain America after playing for like 4 or 5 days because of the calendar and the login. Cap's awesome. He's pretty much tells you about the game, and more importantly, the Protector kind of tag, in a way that you now will compare every other Protector in the game to him. And there are some that do different things, but what he does, especially on people that take advantage of him, like the teams, like Avengers and everything, and then outside of it, big deal. So, Hero Global, whatever, right? Hero is whatever tag, but Global, maybe not himself, but since most of the Avengers and the Wave 1 Avengers do tag as Global anyway, that team can be useful in a lot of game modes. In Gamma, I believe there's an Avengers tag that you can use him in. It doesn't say Avenger, but if you have Secret Avenger or Wave 1 Avenger, you are also an Avenger. Anywhere you see that word, it's weird. They just did it to save some space, I guess. It's pretty reasonable. Bio tag, that's the worst thing about him, considering how important so many bio characters are to invest in. It's kind of hard to squeeze out past gear tier 11 or 12 in bio gear, sometimes even 10, especially for newer characters. You really don't want to do too much. Protector, tank, useful. Shield tag, very relevant, helps you unlock Iron Man, so you can leave him on the bottom of your roster instead of other characters. Super relevant. Military tag seems relevant, doesn't really make a difference. Basically, the military tag just says Captain Marvels are going to be a little bit stronger in raid nodes and Dark Dimension nodes if Captain America is present. That's literally all it says. It also gives him a little bit of value with Bucky, just not in any way that anyone would ever consider. And Wave 1 Avengers tag is great because the Wave 1 Avenger team at the beginning of the game, which is Cap, Hawkeye, Hulk, Widow, and Thor, is pretty much still the best starting team in the game to give you an idea of how characters play out, and then they kind of break off into different versions of teams as you go on. As for tags, so here's the thing. There just isn't a good one for him. He doesn't really do much damage, so Striker is kind of out of the question. And he doesn't really multi-hit. He can, but not reliably. And he has an attack that doesn't hit anybody, so Raider is a little bit questionable. Skirmisher is okay because it turns his basic into a debuff removal if you have ways to put vulnerable on characters. That's why I use it. But I do think that specifically Healer is the best version for Cap. With Fortifier, it's such a cop-out to put Fortifier on tanks. I mean, yeah, you could put Fortifier on tanks, but trust me, they're all designed to be tanks. You don't need the extra stuff. This is usually better on characters who aren't designed to be tanks to keep them alive a little bit longer. But the Healer on Cap, he is a little slow, but he doesn't take a lot of damage, and the ability for him to just kind of throw out heals with a decent health pool that he has, kind of reasonable, especially he does have the ability to heal his team somewhat, and at higher investment levels that heal does make a difference. Right now it's only about 14,000 split among his heal and his res. There really isn't a great ISO for him. I put him on Skirmisher a long time ago, like back when this stuff came out, and you can even tell I haven't done much since then. I know of a lot of people who use Fortifier and Healer. They've said it was good. I don't use Cap that often enough to say, and I don't think you should either use Cap that much and often to say that, like, oh, this is the best. I think you should just kind of accept the fact that he doesn't need much. He has a purpose. It's to get you. He's like an Uber. You get in, you get to where you're going, you get out. You don't stay in the Uber and make friends with the driver. You leave. They did their job. That's Captain America. He got you from the I'm playing this game to the oh, there's actual real characters in this game point. Still kind of useful, but that's pretty much it. Going to Assemble, Tier 4 increases his block amount, which is actually insane, especially if you put him on War Defense. In War, gain an additional 20% max health. In War, Wave 1 Avengers allies get an additional 20%. It's war on either side. This team does tend to lean towards defense, not because it's good on defense, just because they're better on defense than they are on offense, if that makes sense. It also depends on what version of the team you're using. Basically, it's nice to see a team you could just put on defense and be like, oh, I worked on them, and now I don't need them anymore. They're on defense. But things always change, right? Shield Throw, not terrible. Attack primary target, clear some buffs. Chain, clear some buffs. If this character has one or more Wave 1 Avengers allies, he then gains 30% speed meter. Dodge breaks his chain. The speed meter can go up to 60% with the Tier 4, which is a very reasonable, considering all of his attacks are incredibly low. This is a 3 energy attack. This is a 3 energy attack. And then, obviously, basic is nothing. So, it's worth it, kind of. Inspire used to be the worst Tier 4 in the game. It used to say, grant apply defense up to 10 allies, and then it said apply defense up to all allies. If you get why that's funny, you get it. If you don't worry about it. You're lucky. But the grant ability energy to 1 to 3 instead of 1 to 2, it's a die roll. If it went from 1 to 2 to 2 to 3, I'd say yes. It's guaranteed 2 with a chance of another. Just the chance of another is not really worth the Tier 4s in my mind. It does everything it needs to without that, so don't worry about that. And then, of course, Shield Bash. Always gain defense up with Tier 4. Without it, just a 50% chance. He blocks everything always, so I guess with the defense up, as you know, you're going to see every time you fight a Cap in a raid or a Dark Dimension, he always gets that defense up whenever he uses his basic or counter attack, so it is what it is. But again, I stand by what I said. Cap really didn't need much. He's a short-term solution to a short-term problem. If you like him as a character, then you'll have more fun with him by investing in him. Obviously, But if you're just playing the game and trying to use your resources sparingly and invest in the right characters, Cap's not one of the guys. Sure, you're going to hear stories of people who used Cap in Dark Dimension. And yeah, they might have done it. And raids and all that stuff. Yeah, 100%. But again, depends on what you're looking for in the game. He's not necessary for pretty much anything in the game. But there's a lot of things he can be used. He's another B character, as we've talked about from the previous game. He's got a lot of value. He's got a lot of uses. He's never completely useless in the game. He just loses so much viability after the first year of play, maybe even a little bit less, that if you continue to invest in him, you're just not going to feel any of the returns, just complete diminishing returns. But still a fun character, still an iconic character, even had some cool costumes come out, depending on what you think the word cool means. I think this one's pretty alright. This one looks derpy, but didn't matter. Either way, this is still my favorite. Just OG, messed up shield. Looks pretty cool. So that's it for Captain America, guys. Hopefully you are enjoying these videos. Comment and let me know if you understand, if I'm doing a good job of explaining the character's backstory and everything like that. I just try to make them better every time. If you want to see a little bit more like footage or sceneries, I can splice in some like pictures or something instead of just showing this video in the background. That's up to you. Just let me know what you guys think. Have a good night. Have a great day. I've been Tony Scungili, and again, I'm saying goodbye in the outro. Kidding, I'll catch you later.